Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 2, Chapter 7. Steps were heard near the door, and Betsy, convinced that she should see Anna appear, looked at Vronsky. He also looked in the direction of the door, and his face had a strange expression of joy, expectation, and almost of fear, and he rose slightly from his chair. Anna came into the drawing-room. She crossed the short distance between her and the mistress of the mansion, with that rapid, light, but decided step which distinguished her from all the other women of this circle. As usual, she stood extremely straight, and with her eyes fixed on Betsy, went directly up to her, and shook hands with a smile, and with the same smile she looked at Vronsky. He bowed profoundly and offered her a chair. Anna bent her head a little and blushed and gave a slight frown. Several of the ladies pressed around her. She shook hands with them, and then she turned to Betsy. "I've just been at the Countess Lydia's. I wanted to get away earlier, but I was detained. Sir John was there. He's very interesting." "Ach, the missionary?" "Yes, he related many curious things about life in the Indies." The conversation which Anna's interests had interrupted again wavered, like a fire that threatens to go out. "Sir John, Sir John, yes, I've seen him. He speaks well. Vlasiev is actually in love with him. Is it true that the youngest of the Vlasievs is going to marry Topov?" "Yes, people say that their affair is fully decided. I'm astonished that the parents are willing. They say it is a love match." "A love match? What antediluvian ideas you have! Who speaks of love in our days?" said the ambassador's wife. "What is to be done about it? This foolish old custom is still occasionally met with," said Vronsky. "So much the worse for those who adhere to it. The only happy marriages that I know about are those of reason." "Yes, but does it not often happen that these marriages of reason break like ropes of sand, precisely because of this love which you affect to scorn? Let us see. What we call a marriage of reason is where both parties take an equal risk. Love is a disease through which we all must pass. Like the measles. In that case, it would be wise to find an artificial means of inoculation, as in smallpox. When I was young, I fell in love with the sacristan. I should like to know what good that did me," said the Princess Myakaya. "No, but jesting aside, I believe that to know what love really is, one must have been deceived once, and then been set right," said the Princess Betsy. "Even after marriage?" asked the ambassador's wife, laughing. "It is never too late to mend," said the diplomatist, quoting the English proverb. "But really," interrupted Betsy, "you were deceived the first time, so as afterwards to get into the right path. What do you say?" said she, turning to Anna, who was listening to the conversation with a smile. Vronsky looked at her and waited for her answer with a violent beating of the heart. After she had spoken, he drew a long breath, as though he had escaped some danger. "I think," said Anna, playing with her glove, "that if there are as many opinions as there are heads, then there are as many ways of loving as there are hearts." She turned quickly to Vronsky. "I've just had a letter from Moscow. They write me that Kitty Shtcherbatskaya is very ill." "Really?" said Vronsky gloomily. Anna looked at him with a severe expression. "Doesn't this interest you?" "On the contrary, I'm very sorry. Exactly what did they write you, if I may be permitted to inquire?" Anna arose and went to Betsy. "Will you give me a cup of tea?" she said, leaning on the chair. While Betsy was pouring the tea, Vronsky went to Anna. "What did they write you? I often think that men do not know what nobility means, though they are all the time talking about it," said Anna, not answering his question. "I have been wanting to tell you for a time," she added, going forwards, the table laden with albums. "I don't know what your words mean," he said, offering her a cup of tea. She glanced at the sofa near and then sat down, and he instantly sat beside her. Yes, I've been wanting to tell you, she continued without looking at him. You've acted badly, very badly. Do you believe that I don't feel that I have? But whose fault was it? Why do you say that to me? Said she with a severe look. You know it yourself, he replied without dropping his eyes. She, not he, felt the burden of the guilt. This simply proves that you have no heart, said she, but her eyes told the story, that she knew that he had a heart, and therefore she feared him. What you were talking about just now was error, not love. Remember that I've forbidden you to speak that word, that a hateful word, said Anna, trembling, and instantly she felt that by the use of the word forbidden, she recognized a certain jurisdiction over him, and thus encouraged him to speak. For a long time I've been wanting to have a talk with you, she continued in a firm tone, looking him full in the face, though her cheeks were aflame. I have come tonight on purpose, knowing that I should find you here. This must come to an end. I've never had to blush before anyone before, and you cause me to feel guilty in my own eyes. He looked at her and was struck with the new expression of her beauty. What do you want me to do? Said he. I want you to go to Moscow and beg Kitty's pardon. You do not want that, said he. He felt that she was compelling herself to say one thing while she really desired something else. If you love me as you say you do, she murmured, then do what will give me peace. Vronsky's face lighted up. Don't you know that you are my life? But I don't know what peace means, and I can't give it to you. Myself, my love, I can give, yes. I cannot think of our being apart from each other. For me, you and I are one. I see no hope of peace for you or for me in the future. As I look ahead, I see nothing but despair and misfortune. Unless I see the possibility of happiness, and what happiness? Is it really impossible? He murmured, scarcely daring to pronounce the words, but she understood him. All the forces of her mind pointed to what she ought to say, but instead of speaking, she looked at him with love in her eyes and said nothing. Ah, he said to himself in his transport, at the very moment when I was in despair, when I thought I should never succeed, it has come. This is love. She loves me. It is a confession. Do this for me. Let us be good friends, and never speak to me in this way again, said her words, but her eyes told a totally different story. We can never be friends. You yourself know it. Shall we be the most miserable or the happiest of human beings? It's for you to decide. She began to speak, but he interrupted her. All that I ask is the right of hoping and suffering, as I do now. If it is impossible, order me to disappear, and I will disappear. If my presence is painful to you, you shall be relieved of the sight of me. I do not wish to drive you away from me. Then change nothing, let things go as they are, said he with trembling voice. Here is your husband. Indeed, Alexey Alexandrovitch at that instant was entering the drawing-room with his calm face and ungraceful walk. He went first to the mistress of the mansion, and he passed casting a glance at Anna and Vronsky, and then he sat down by the tea-table, and in his slow, well-modulated voice, and in the tone of persiflage, which seemed always to deride someone or something, he said, as he took in the assembly, Your Rambouillet is complete, the Graces and the Muses. But the Princess Betsy, who could not endure this tone of derision, sneering, she called it, with the tact of a consummate hostess, quickly brought him round to the question of serious interest. The forced conscription was under discussion, and Alexey Alexandrovitch defended it with vivacity against Betsy's attacks. Vronsky and Anna still sat near their little table. "That is getting rather pronounced," said a lady in a whisper, referring to Karenin, Anna, and Vronsky. "What did I tell you?" said Anna's friend. These were not the only ladies who were making the same remarks. The Princess Miakaya and Betsy themselves glanced more than once to the side of the room where they sat alone. Only Alexey Alexandrovitch paid no attention to them and did not allow his thoughts to wander from the interesting conversation on which he had started. Betsy, perceiving the unfortunate effect caused by her friends, executed a skilful maneuver so that someone else could reply in her stead to Alexey Alexandrovitch, and crossed over to Anna. "I always admire your husband's clear and explicit language," she said. "The most transcendental questions seem within my reach when he speaks." "Oh, yes," said Anna, radiating with joy, though she did not understand a word that Betsy had said. Then she arose and went over to the large table and joined in the general conversation. At the end of half an hour, Alexey Alexandrovitch proposed to her to go home, but she answered without looking at him that she wished to remain to supper. Alexey Alexandrovitch took leave of the company and departed. The Karenin's coachman, an old Tartar, dressed in his waterproof, was having some difficulty in restraining his horses, excited with the cold. A lackey stood with his hand on the door of the coupe. The Swiss was standing near the outer door, and Anna listened with ecstasy to what Vronsky whispered, while she was freeing with her nervous fingers the lace of her sleeve which had caught on the hook of her fur cloak. "You made no agreement, I confess," Vronsky was saying as he accompanied her to the carriage. "But you know that it is not friendship that I ask for. For me, the whole happiness of my life is contained in that one word that you despise. Love." "Love," she repeated slowly, as though she had spoken to herself. Then, as she disentangled her lace, she suddenly said, "I do not like this word, because it has for me a sense more profound and vastly more serious than you can imagine. But till next time," she said, looking him in the face. She reached him her hand, and with a rapid step passed the Swiss and disappeared in her carriage. Her look, her pressure of his hand, overwhelmed Vronsky. He kissed the palm where her fingers had touched it and went back to his quarters with the conviction that this evening had brought him nearer to the goal of which he dreamed than all the 2 months past.